Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 295 of Be With Me, 7 Minutes of Biblical Wonder. And I am so grateful that you are here today. Why? I have said that it's only 7 minutes. What's the big deal? But here's the deal. You are paying with a currency that is of prime value, and that is your time. In a sense, you are buying this podcast with your time. And sometimes with your consideration, and maybe even with moving your thinking. Oh my goodness. So I am so glad that you're here, and I want to describe my most valued listener, my most valued customer. And you might be one of those people here today, and that is a person who disagrees with me. And if you're giving me your time and your consideration and perhaps influence, wow, I am just humbled. And we're going to learn that we don't own our time. We think we call it our life, but really it's borrowed. We have borrowed resources. And today's story is actually about a steward, a servant, or a manager, and that's what we are with our life and our resources, our time, our money, our treasures, our talents, etc. And one of the big points of the Bible is that there's a real owner, there's a real creator, and it's not me. So if you're listening and you're giving value, I really appreciate that. One of the things we've talked about before is to try to tie something in your day to this podcast. I just got a text this morning with a photo of a mug, and the title of the photo was 7 Minutes of Biblical Lemon Ginger. So this person was tying their tea drinking in the morning to doing this podcast, or maybe it's in the shower, or maybe it's when you have a bowl of cereal, or when you let the dog out. So let's get to the story. We are in Luke chapter 16, a chronological walk through the Bible, and we were in Luke chapter 15, and fortunately 16 follows that. That's not always the case. Let me read the story. It's the parable of the dishonest manager. This is a crazy story if you're not careful. He said to his disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager, and charges were brought to him that this man was wasting his possessions. And he called him and said to him, what is this that I hear about you? Turn in the account of your management, for you can no longer be manager. And the manager said to himself, what shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me? I am not strong enough to dig, and I am ashamed to beg. Verse 4, I have decided what to do, so that when I am removed from management, people may receive me into their houses. So summoning his master's debtors one by one, he said to the first, how much do you owe my master? He said, 100 measures of oil. He said to him, take your bill and sit down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, and how much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. So we find that this dishonest manager continues to be dishonest. And then here's the craziest part of the story. Verse 8. The master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. Let me read it again. You just can't even believe the Bible sometimes. The master commended the dishonest manager for his shrewdness. So a parable often makes one point. I'll tell you what the main point of this is that we are to be using our talents and things that we have, the powers that we have, to make friends for the gospel, to make friends for God. In fact, it says that a little bit later. So let's go through the story here just a little bit. First of all, the manager is always called a dishonest manager. So the manager has stolen and acted dishonestly before the story starts, and then he continues to act dishonestly financially during the story. But he's thinking, he says, I'm too old to dig, or I don't want to dig, and I don't want to beg. I can't dig, and I don't want to beg. But I do have a power that's still mine. I'm still this guy's manager. I have this power that was lent to me resources and time and treasure and stuff, and I can make friends. And then when I get fired for real, when the firing becomes manifest, then I'll have these friends. So he's actually commended for that part, the shrewd part about it, the making of friends part about it. The money that he's stealing, the oil and the wheat, and taking it off the master's books, resulting in, it's about like $80,000 or $90,000. It's a very significant amount of money, and this is just two of the debtors. What it doesn't say is are there more? Is he giving $40,000 discounts to everybody, and maybe there's 20 of them or 80 of them or who knows, or maybe there's just two. Either way, the story is the same. So he's not commended for stealing the money. He's commended for being shrewd. So shrewd is kind of like, in my mind, it was more like wily, like a fox, but I looked it up in the Greek, and it really means more like, hey, he finds a way. He makes it happen. Like, hey, a dishonest manager, what are you going to do? He may start to say, I really don't know, but I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to accomplish this. So the hat tip, the tipping of the hat that the master is commending this guy in, is not that he's stealing the money. The commendation is that he's using his wiliness, his stick-to-itiveness to make this happen. So obviously, we're not supposed to broker distrust, but we are supposed to make friends for the kingdom. So let's be careful with our conclusion here today. It's not that we should be dishonest. It's not that we should steal from our master. It is that we should use the resources that we have, power, position, maybe it's money, to act shrewdly for the kingdom. Bloom where you're planted, considering this world and the next world, because we're believers, and be shrewd, make friends. And how are we supposed to do that? Make a way, make it happen, do it today. So that may be sharing service with them, or sharing an activity, or going on a play date, or meetups, or attending a funeral, or supporting somebody in a wedding, or words in a time, or a letter, or emailing, or having breakfast, or having dinner, or that sort of thing. Just some way. So my charge to you is the same charge that's in this passage, and we'll continue with it tomorrow, is find a way to make friends for the kingdom. How? I don't know. Make it happen. See you tomorrow.